Welcome to the ISS eTime Timesheet Live Keynote. We're excited to share with you the next chapter in ISS Timesheets. I'm Eric Clark, and I have the pleasure to show you a quick look at what's coming. Let's get started. So eTime is a portal-based technology that runs in a web browser on desktop and mobile. It allows support staff and circles of support to record, approve, and submit time all online. As we announced in the first eTime keynote, the initial release of eTime is rolling out in two phases: Timesheet Entry and Timesheet Live. Timesheet Entry is the manual entry of time worked during a pay period after the fact. Timesheet Live is the clocking in and out of every shift you work in real time as it happens. In the 3 weeks since we released Timesheet Entry, we've had many of you using it. There have been over 3,200 timesheets completed and 3,100 that have been approved. In the first pay period, 34,000 hours out of those 71,000 hours paid were from eTime Timesheet Entry. 50% of support staff have been paid from an eTime timesheet, translating into 58% of participants that have had support staff submit time through eTime. And the numbers are already significantly higher in the second pay period than they were in the first. We want to thank all of you for your participation and feedback. Timesheet Live is a real-time, web-based time clock application. It allows support staff to punch in when starting a shift and then punch out when the shift is complete. Recording the information as it happens means a few things. First, from a convenience standpoint, it means there's nothing to fill out later. The only thing left to do is submit the time for approval. This real-time data capture also helps ensure the accuracy of the data. Early access to Timesheet Live will be released on July 31st to qualifying support staff. Timesheet Live will then be released to everyone in late summer. To qualify for early access, a support staff will need to have successfully used the current eTime timesheet entry feature from start to finish. This means you need to have at least one timesheet that has been entered, submitted, and approved and paid through eTime. Let's explore the Timesheet Live experience with the help of our cast of characters that we introduced in the last keynote. Owen Ellis, a participant, Maxine Ellis, his mother and primary contact, and Carlos Medina, one of Owen's support staff. So Carlos arrives at Owen's home. As he's walking up, he pulls out his phone, he opens his browser and goes to the bookmark of the portal. To log in, he uses the password manager on his device so he doesn't have to type in his password every time. On mobile, after he logs in, he'll immediately see the interface for Timesheet Live. So he taps the New button to start the time block, and then puts his phone back in his pocket. At this point, he can log out of the portal, close his browser, or even turn off his phone. Once he starts that time block, it will be there on the portal for him to finish. Now, once inside, Maxine, Owen's mom, asks Carlos if he knows the next paid holiday. So he pulls his phone back out again and goes to the portal. In this case, he never logged out, so he still has it pulled up. To hide the Timesheet Live screen and go to the rest of the portal, he clicks Go to Portal. He can then find the information he needs on the home screen or navigate elsewhere in the portal if he needs to. When he's done, he can return to the Timesheet Live screen by clicking Open Timer. Once Carlos's shift is over, he says goodbye to Owen and Maxine on the way out the door, then pulls his phone back out, opens up his browser, and then selects the time block he was just working. He then records the participant and job, selects his activities, and then clicks End Entry. Now that he has finished recording time, Carlos can submit his time to Maxine for approval, or wait and submit multiple entries together. At a minimum, time should be submitted for approval once every 2-week pay period, but can be submitted more frequently if desired. Carlos has had a conversation with Maxine, and she prefers to review Carlos's time once a week, so he submits it for approval every weekend. To submit his week's work, he clicks on the menu, selects My Timesheets, and then selects the timesheet for the current pay period. You can see here that his work from last week is included on this pay period's timesheet, and you can also see that those lines have already been approved by Maxine. His time for this week, however, still needs to be submitted. To do so, he would click Submit All. Now let's say that Carlos took a day of PTO yesterday. Now, in the coming months, eTime will have a more robust and designated PTO feature set, but let's take a look at how he can record that right now. Since Timesheet Live is a real-time interface, Carlos obviously isn't going to enter PTO in real time. So there are 2 ways he can submit PTO. First, for PTO already taken within the current pay period, he can enter it through timesheet entry and have it included along with all of his Timesheet Live entries. So from the home page, click Menu, then select My Timesheets, then select the timesheet for the current pay period. He will then click Add Entries. Here, he can enter the date and time, and then select Time Off from the drop-down. He'll then select which type of time off, and then click Submit. Now he can see that that line of PTO has been added to the current pay period. Now that we've added in that PTO, let's click Submit All. But what if Carlos is going to be on vacation at the end of a pay period and needs to submit that PTO time in advance? Since eTime currently does not allow Carlos to enter a future date, he should fill out a paper timesheet with just the PTO, have the circle sign and approve it, and then mail it to ISS for processing. That was a brief look at Timesheet Live. Now let's take a look at some questions many of you may be asking. First, how do you access Timesheet Live? To access Timesheet Live, simply log into the portal at portal.issny.org. If you don't have a portal login, send an email to web support at issny.org. How will you know if you have early access to Timesheet Live? On mobile, when you log into the portal, if you have early access to Timesheet Live, the Timesheet Live interface will show up just like in our demo. On desktop, when you log in, there will be a Timesheet Live widget on the home page you can click. If these are present, then you have early access. Now, how do you qualify for early access to Timesheet Live? As mentioned previously, to qualify for early access, you must be successfully paid for a timesheet through timesheet entry. Can you still use timesheet entry? Yes, the PTO example in the demo was a great example of this. Can you use Timesheet Live and timesheet entry for the same pay period? Yes, again, the PTO example is a great example of this. How often do you need to log your time with eTime Timesheet Live? For Timesheet Live, you need to be logging your time every shift, since it happens in real time. Will there be a desktop version / do you have to use your phone? So there will be a desktop version, so no, you don't have to use your phone. However, if you're using the desktop version of Timesheet Live, you should be using it in real time, not after the fact. Can you make changes to your eTime timesheet? In short, yes. You'll be able to edit work types and activity selections prior to submission or if the line has been returned to you, but you cannot edit start and stop times. Can you delete time entries? Yes. If you create an erroneous entry with Timesheet Live, you can delete it on this overview page we saw earlier. What if you forget to clock in or clock out? Since you cannot edit start and stop times for Timesheet Live entries, if you forget to clock in or clock out, You should delete that time entry as we just described, and then add a new entry using the Add Entries button. The Circle of Support may be wondering what's the difference about Timesheet Live for them. The only thing that will be different for the Circle of Support is that you will receive lines for approval as often as the staff submits them. This can be as frequently as every shift, or as infrequently as at the end of each pay period. You should coordinate with your staff about how frequently you would like to review and approve their time. How will you know how the time was entered? On the review page you currently use, there will be an indicator at the line level showing whether Timesheet Entry or Timesheet Live was used to enter that time. Can a participant approve his or her own time? Yes. We know there are some participants that approve time for their own staff. As long as you have a portal login, which means you need a unique participant-specific email address, you are able to approve your staff's time. We're excited about the continuing enhancements being made to eTime and can't wait to launch this next phase. Thank you for joining us this morning. If you have any questions, please contact websupport@issny.org. Thanks again for watching the Timesheet Live keynote.